All right, this is Mike, the Rototiller guy. This is actually my personal home, and this was happening with one of my sprinklers zones, and I just wanted to talk to you guys about it. So this is probably one of the most, one of the things that I go and repair the most at people's houses. But basically, there's a sprinkler head right there, and there's a continuous leak. So I get phone calls that people claiming that my sprinkler head is bad, the actual head of the sprinkler is bad, when in fact what's actually happening is the valves here, one of these valves is leaking. So on a valve, this is called the anti-siphon. This is called the actuator. This is actually the solenoid on the actuator. So the timer sends a message, the 9-volt pulse of electricity that hits this thing. It magnetizes this rod, and inside here there's a little thing that lifts up, and that's what actually turns the water on and off. Well, inside of this clamshell right here, right in between these two bits here, there's a little rubber diaphragm that sits inside there, and over time that rubber diaphragm becomes brittle, not as flexible, and it'll either get trapped in the open position or it'll get trapped in the closed position. So if it was trapped in the closed, this would get a signal, the rod would lift, but it doesn't actually allow any water to go through it. It's trapped in the closed position, it will not open. So they just about 50% of the time fail in that position, as well as what's happening today is that it actually is trapped in the open position. There is no signal being sent here to it now, but it will not fully close. And so the way you diagnose it, so we've got 4 different valves. Well, the diagnosis is actually that there's just water flowing all the time, like all of the time. So what's supplying all that water? Well, these valves supply the water. So which of these 4 valves controls that sprinkler zone? Well, and the other thing that's happening, it's that water is falling out of the lowest sprinkler in that zone. So if that zone has, let's say, 12 sprinkler heads, and only one of them is going to be leaking, maybe 2 at the very most, but they're the lowest ones, and that's where it's leaking out of. So how to determine which one of these 4 actuators need to be replaced? You can come here manually and turn them on by turning this, and I already know that so that turns these 4 or 5 sprinkler heads on, right? That's what turns them on. And so I know that's the one that is controlling the water flow here. And so I can turn it off. And so I know which one of these 4 is failing. What I would do then is that I would throw this valve here into the off position. So now water is no longer being supplied. You turn this back on and nothing's going to happen because there is no water pressure anymore. And what I have to do is I have to take this jar lid here off because it interferes with this flange here. It won't let this lift off. So you have to get this out of the way first, and then this will spin right off. And then each one of these actuators has 2 wires coming out of it. One goes to the common wire and one goes to the color wire that controls that particular valve. So this jar lid comes off, this unscrews, The new one screws in, the jar lid goes back on, and then you just rewire the solenoid. And that's the solution for that leak at my sprinkler head.